If you ever hear breathing from inside your walls, don't assume it's the pipes. Emily Carson was 9 years old when she whispered those terrifying words into a 911 receiver. Her voice, small, trembling, barely louder than the rustling of wind, was the beginning of a nightmare that stretched across years and states. Her call became infamous not just for what she said, but for what was found and what wasn't. Let me take you back to that cold, rainy night in Missoula, Montana. It was October 18th, a Friday. Leaves were starting to rot on sidewalks, clinging to storm drains and forming rust-colored puddles. The Carson house, tucked at the edge of town, sat silent under the gloom of a flickering porch light. Inside, the TV buzzed quietly while Emily's mother, Dana, napped on the couch, wine glass still half full. Emily was supposed to be in bed, but she hadn't been able to sleep for days. Not since the scratching started. It wasn't like a mouse. It was too deliberate, rhythmic. It began in the walls behind her headboard, then in the floor, then in the ceiling above, and tonight, it came from the vent. A long, slow scraping, followed by a soft tap, tap, tap. She told her mother, of course. Dana dismissed it, said it was the ductwork expanding. But Emily had lived in that house her whole life. The vents never sounded like they were breathing. So when the sound got louder, closer, and something began whispering her name from behind the metal grill, she did what she was told to do in an emergency. She picked up the landline, and she whispered, "There's someone in the vents." The dispatcher, Janet Wilcox, was about to clock out when the line rang. What she heard on the other end chilled her immediately. Emily's voice was barely audible. "He's in the house," she said again. "I can hear him in the vents." "Sweetheart, are you alone?" "No, Mommy's asleep, but he's crawling." "Who is?" Silence. Then a faint hissing sound. Emily whispered, "He listens when I talk." Janet muted her mic and flagged the call. Officers were dispatched to the Carson residence. ETA 7 minutes. Back on the line, she tried to soothe the child. "Can you hide somewhere?" "I'm under my bed," Emily whispered. "But I think he's in the floor now. He said he's hungry." That's when a second sound came through the receiver. Not from Emily. A low, wet breathing, like someone trying to inhale through thick mucus. It was faint, but steady and close. "Emily?" Janet asked. "Is that you?" "He's under me now," she whispered. Then a metallic clink, like a vent grill being unscrewed. Janet's stomach dropped. She tried to speak again, but the line was cut. When officers Tate and Mulroney arrived, they found the house locked tight. Porch light flickering. No response from inside. A neighbor, Mrs. Pendleton, offered them a spare key. The Carsons were quiet people, she said. Emily was sweet. Her mother, Dana, a nurse. No trouble ever came from that house. They entered carefully. The house was cold, dark, except for the living room TV glowing static. Wine glass on the floor. Dana Carson unconscious on the couch, breathing, but sluggish. Tate called paramedics. Mulroney moved deeper into the house. He found Emily in her bedroom, curled under her bed, white as snow. She was clutching a small yellow walkie-talkie. When she saw him, she started sobbing. But the moment he picked her up, she screamed, not at him, but at the ceiling vent. "He's still up there." The scream echoed. A metallic echo rang from inside the walls. Mulroney looked up just in time to see the vent grill in the hallway wobble slightly. Then, nothing. The official report said the intruder had fled. There was no sign of forced entry. Nothing stolen. No visible DNA, no muddy footprints. The crawl space above the ceiling was too small for anyone to move in, let alone hide. Emily said he was thin, like paper, and could squeeze into corners. Her mother remembered nothing. Later tests showed she had been drugged, but no fingerprints were found on the wine glass. Local news reported it as a suspected break-in and moved on. But Emily didn't point. 4 years later, the Carson family moved to Billings, Montana. Bigger city, different school. Dana switched to night shifts at a hospital. Emily, now 13, tried to forget what happened. She even convinced herself it was a dream. Until one night, June 3rd, 2019, she called 911 again. Same voice. Same whisper. "He's in the vents." When police arrived this time, things were different. The house was new, recently built. But the same strange details emerged. That a vent in Emily's bedroom had been ripped open from the inside. On the wall below it, deep, Scratches. Like fingernails, human, not animal. In the attic. Behind insulation, officers found a narrow crawl space, no more than 18 inches high. Inside, a filthy mattress, old chip bags, a pair of muddy jeans, and dozens of Polaroids. All of Emily, some taken through her bedroom vent, some while she was sleeping, some from inside her closet. But the worst photo, the one that made even hardened officers gag, was a picture taken inches away from her bed. You could see the edge of the mattress and Emily's hand, draped off the side in sleep. In the foreground, a man's face. Gaunt, filthy, smiling, eyes too wide, with pupils like pinholes. He was lying under her. The forensics team analyzed the saliva on a straw found with the chip bags that IT matched. Adam Griggs, an escaped psychiatric patient who vanished from a facility 12 miles away 3 years prior. He had a history of hiding in walls, of contorting into impossible spaces. He believed he was the echo that lived between the walls. In one of his psychiatric evaluations, a doctor wrote, "Subject insists he does not need doors. Claims he can travel through vents and pipes. Says he knows how to flatten himself." He was never found. Emily lives with relatives now. She doesn't sleep in rooms with vents. In fact, her uncle spent thousands removing every duct and replacing them with wall units. She still has the walkie-talkie, still clutches it at night, and sometimes it turns on, all by itself, and a voice on the other end whispers, "I'm still hungry." 911, what's your emergency? They're coming up the stairs. Sir, can you tell me your location? I locked the door. Please hurry. Silence. June 7th, 2002, Cleveland, Ohio. 2:36 a.m. The call came in during one of the quietest shifts of the week. Dispatch operator Samantha Knox was halfway through a crossword puzzle when the ringing started. Her headphones buzzed. The screen lit up, yet strangely, no caller ID, no number, just a blank display and a blinking red. She answered. The voice on the other end was breathless and cracking. Male, mid-30s, maybe 40s. Words strained like they were being squeezed through clenched teeth. Help, they're coming up the stairs. Her hands froze above the keyboard. She pressed record, toggled screen capture, and opened the dispatch map to log the call. Sir, can you give me your address? I don't know. I think it's changing. What's changing? The house. It's moving. Again. It keeps folding in on itself. Sir, are you injured? I locked the door. I think it's bang, bang, bang. The phone crackled with 3 heavy knocks, like someone pounding against an old wooden door. Then, total silence. Hello? Samantha said. Nothing. Just static. She tried to pull up the call's origin. Still nothing. No number. No GPS. No trace. It was as if the call never happened. The log hadn't even registered, but she had recorded it, manually. She played it back. The voice was there. Only this time, the background had changed. She could hear something else layered underneath the man's words. Reversed audio. When played backward later by the tech team, it revealed the same phrase over and over. Let him go. He doesn't belong here. Police were dispatched anyway, based on the direction of the faint cell tower ping and the weird modulation. They narrowed the origin down to a stretch of homes on Hill Ridge Drive, a half-dead cul-de-sac long ignored by the city. There, at the end of the road, stood a broken old house. 1473 Hill Ridge. It had been abandoned for 8 years after a fire. Gutted the second floor. Windows were boarded. The door loosely padlocked. The officers forced it open. Inside, the air was thick with soot and mildew. Scorched beams hung low, like the place was collapsing in on itself. Upstairs, half-melted furniture. A closet filled with old coats. A bathtub full of ash. But what truly disturbed them was the attic. Behind a half-burned crawl panel, hidden in the rafters, was a rotary phone. The wires were long dead, frayed ends curled like spider legs. But the phone had recently been used. The plastic casing was warm. Even more unsettling, on the wall behind it, written in charcoal, were desperate phrases. It's not a house, it's a trap. Every time I sleep, it resets. I don't know what year it is anymore. They eat time. Please answer. Please. And tucked beneath a moldy floorboard was a leather-bound journal. It belonged to a man named Derek Hale. Derek Hale, age 39, reported missing in 1986. Former mail carrier, his family had given up hope decades ago. Everyone assumed he'd left town or taken his own life. His journal told another story. Each entry chronicled his time squatting inside the house after losing his job. But the entries became increasingly bizarre. The rooms keep shifting when I turn my back. Sometimes I can see different versions of the house overlapping. Some burned, some not. Sometimes I see people who don't see me. I've been calling 911 for weeks. Nobody ever answers, but I still hear the dial tone. One final entry stood out. Today the phone connected. I spoke to someone. I think she heard me. I don't think she was from here. I don't think I'm from here anymore either. If anyone finds this, tell them I'm still here. Still upstairs. When forensics reviewed the voice on the call, it matched Derek Hale's voice from DMV records. But Derek had vanished 16 years earlier. The rotary phone. Disconnected. No current. No signal. The call should have been impossible. But here's the kicker. Later that month, Samantha Knox, the dispatcher, received another call. Private number. No caller ID. She answered, heart pounding. Thank you. The man whispered. They couldn't hear me before, but you did. Then, the call disconnected. She quit dispatch that week. Moved out of state. Refused to speak to anyone about it until she passed away in 2017. Her private effects. Her daughter found an old cassette labeled Hillridge Echo, do not play. The audio inside? Not the call she remembered. It was her own voice, whispering from the other side. They're coming up the stairs. Hillridge Drive is fenced off now. The entire block condemned due to unstable foundations. Locals say you can still hear ringing phones echoing from that burnt-out attic on stormy nights. And sometimes, if you answer the call, you hear your own voice on the other end. October 12, 2005, Delaware County, Pennsylvania. The last time anyone saw Rachel Mendez was at 6:48 p.m. She waved from the front porch of the Silverman family home, smiling, friendly, and holding a plastic bag filled with snacks and flashcards. A nursing student at a local college, Rachel was doing weekend babysitting for extra cash. The Silvermans were off to their 15-year anniversary dinner in Philly. Rachel was staying with their two kids, Lucy, age 5, and Max, age 8. The home was in a quiet, upscale neighborhood. A 2-story colonial house, white shutters, a swing set out back. Everything was perfect until it wasn't. 9:22 p.m. 911 call from Rachel Mendez. Hello? Yes, this is Rachel Mendez. I'm babysitting for the Silvermans at 23 Westridge Drive. There's someone outside. He's just standing there by the swing set. Ma'am, is the door locked? Yes, but he's not moving. Just standing. I think he's watching the house. Can you describe him? He's wearing black. No, like shadows. I can't see a face. Stay calm. Officers are on their way. Okay. The kids are upstairs. I'm in the kitchen. Oh God. What's happening? He's gone. He's not there anymore. Click. The call cut off. 9:28 p.m. Second call, he's inside. I didn't hear the door open. How did he get in? Ma'am, lock yourself in a room. Can you see him? He's at the bottom of the stairs. Just standing. He's smiling. No eyes. Just black. Rachel, stay calm. It's not a person. It's not a person. Children screaming in background. Loud footstep. Crash. He's coming. Up. He's calm. Line goes dead. 9:35 p.m. Officers arrive at 23 Westridge Drive. Front door is ajar. House dark except for a flickering hallway light. Lucy and Max are found locked inside the upstairs bathroom, crying hysterically, but unharmed. Rachel is gone. No signs of forced entry. No blood. No struggle. Just a babysitter missing and 2 traumatized kids. The investigation for months. Rachel's disappearance dominated local news. Police initially suspected a kidnapping, but without fingerprints, DNA, or witnesses, the case froze. Neighbors reported seeing no suspicious vehicles. Surveillance from a nearby gas station showed no sign of Rachel or anyone out of the ordinary. She had vanished without a trace until the Silvermans received a package in a return address, postmarked from out of state. Inside was a plain cassette tape in a manila envelope. No label, just a sticky note that read, "She kept watching." They turned it over to police immediately. What they heard changed the case entirely. The babysitter taped the audio began exactly like Rachel's 911 call. Word for word, identical. But then it continued for 37 more seconds. In those 37 seconds, Rachel's voice changed. Not just tone, but depth. It slowed, warbled. She started whispering things not present in any dispatch logs. He's not from here. He came through the mirror. He's under my skin. The house opened up for him. Then, laughter, not human, wet, uneven, like a beast gargling glass. Then Rachel again. Tell my mom I'm still here. I'm still watching the kids. The final sound, a tearing noise, like cloth being ripped. Or flesh. Then silence. Analysis and discovery forensic. Experts were baffled. The voice matched Rachel's. The background noise was consistent with the Silverman home. But there were impossible inconsistencies. For example, timestamp on the tape, October 13th, 2005, a full day after Rachel vanished. Tape degradation. The magnetic particles on the cassette were deteriorated, as if aged 20+ years. Frequency anomaly. A second voice layered beneath Rachel's was found, reversed and shifted into sub-bass range. When filtered and reversed, it said, "She sees through your eyes now." After this discovery, the Silvermans tore out every mirror in their home, even covered the reflective metal in the toaster. They moved out 6 weeks later. The house remains empty. The children speak. Max, who had been too terrified to talk at first, eventually opened up during therapy sessions that he claimed that, on the night Rachel disappeared, he woke up to see a man in the ceiling. When asked to draw what he saw, he sketched a tall, faceless figure with long, black arms, hanging upside down like a bat. He said Rachel told him to hide, that she was talking to the voices in the hallway. One particular quote stood out. Rachel said if we made a sound, it would get inside us, like it did with her. So I held my breath. The final break, a second tape 2 years later, in a flea market in Scranton, a man purchased a box of old electronics at a garage sale. Inside was a dusty cassette player and a tape labeled Babysitter, Side B. He played it for fun. He heard Rachel's voice, then hers overlapping with another woman's voice, sobbing, trying to warn someone. Then a new voice entirely. You watched too long. You listened too long. A scream followed, then a garbled audio clip of a child's laughter, looped endlessly for 4 minutes. He turned it in to the FBI. They attempted to trace the origin. Here's where it gets worse. The magnetic signature on that tape matched cold war military encryption. The audio had been layered on a frequency not used in civilian audio equipment, like someone or something deliberately built the recording inside the machine. How did it end up in a garage sale? No one knows. The seller didn't recall the box, claimed it appeared in his shed overnight. Theories: some say Rachel was abducted by a stalker. Others believe she stumbled upon a break-in and was silenced. But some believe in something far darker. They believe Rachel is still inside the house. Not in the walls, but in the reflection of it, echoed through its sounds, heard in the static. When you turn on an old TV in the house, they say if you play the tape in her room, you can hear her finish the sentence she never got to say on the 911 call. He's smiling. No eyes, just black, and tape ends. Final note: to this day, the Silverman house remains unsold. Every buyer who tours it complains of the same thing. A reflection in the bathroom mirror that doesn't match reality. A young woman, standing in the hallway, smiling. August 11th, 2010, Santa Rosa, California, 2:18 a.m. Emergency responders arrived at a single-vehicle accident site on a fog-covered rural road near Howell Mountain. A Ford F-150 had veered off the road, tumbled 20 feet down a ravine, and landed roof first against a pine tree. The driver, Nathan Bell, 32, was ejected through the windshield and died on impact. The wreck was grisly. First responders confirmed the fatality immediately. The body was mangled, partially caught in a twisted tree root. His phone was found in the cab, screen shattered, SIM card snapped in half. The battery was 10 feet away at 2:26 a.m., exactly 8 minutes after paramedics called time of death. A 911 call was placed from Nathan Bell's phone. And that's where this story really begins. The call dispatcher. 911. What's your emergency? Caller. Crackling static. Then a long, low breath. Cold. 58 seconds of silence followed. Just the sound of something distant. Rhythmic. Mechanical. Then, don't die here. Click. Call disconnected. The problem: Nathan Belle's phone was broken. The SIM card couldn't transmit data. The battery was physically missing. Cell tower logs confirmed. The call had pinged from the exact location of the wreck, a ravine with no signal coverage. In fact, the closest tower had been decommissioned in 2007. The call shouldn't have been possible, the coroner signed off. On a clear time of death, well before the 911 call was made. Investigators tried to explain it away as a network delay or signal artifact, but things only got stranger from there. The voicemails 3 days after the funeral. Nathan's wife, Claire, began receiving voicemails from Nathan's number. The first one arrived at 3:19 a.m. It was nothing but static, then a scraping sound, like metal dragging over gravel. The second was clearer. I didn't know it would be this cold. Claire thought it was a cruel prank. She changed her number. It didn't help. Each voicemail was from a new, untraceable number, but always labeled as Nathan Mobile on her screen. Then came the fifth voicemail. It played by itself, automatically, without her pressing anything. Nathan's voice whispered, "They're not letting go. They're not letting me leave. It loops. Claire, it loops." She dropped the phone. It kept playing, even after the screen turned off. The tech investigation. Claire contacted the police. A cyber forensics expert, Aaron Vale, reviewed the voicemails. His analysis? The voicemails weren't stored on any server. They didn't originate from any active phone network. They had embedded spectrogram images, layered in the audio itself. When isolated and enhanced, the spectrograms revealed a human eye, and in one of them, a stretched image of Nathan's crashed truck, viewed from above, but the photo angle wasn't from a drone, satellite, or a helicopter. It was inside the cloud cover, as if taken by something floating in the fog. That same night, Aaron Vale went missing. He'd been reviewing the sixth voicemail on his laptop in his apartment. Surveillance footage showed Aaron get up suddenly, turn toward a blank wall, and begin speaking to it. The audio recorded him whispering, "I hear him. He's screaming," from inside the silence. Then he walked out of the apartment barefoot and vanished. The signal desperate for answers, Claire revisited the crash site. She stood where the truck had landed, her phone off. No GPS still. She received another message. A text from Nathan's number. "Don't trust the sun. It's not real here." The timestamp, August 11th, 2010, 2:26 a.m. The exact moment of Nathan's mysterious 911 call. Her phone screen glitched violently afterward and powered off. The audio logged the only remaining piece of evidence came from the body cam of EMT Daniel Ferris, one of the first responders. His camera had recorded something strange at the scene, unnoticed until weeks later. 2:19 a.m., 1 minute after Nathan was confirmed dead, Ferris leaned over the wreck and said, "Poor bastard never had a chance." In the background, his body cam picked up a faint voice. A whisper, clear as day when enhanced. "I told you not to go. Then, get her out of the house before nightfall." Ferris had said nothing. The other EMTs hadn't spoken. Audio experts verified. The voice matched Nathan Bell, but the recording was made after his death. The house. The final clue came 6 weeks later, when Claire began seeing light patterns on the walls of her home. They looked like reflections, but they came from no source point. One night, her kitchen light flickered. On the floor was a perfect silhouette. Nathan's profile, mouth open, as if screaming. She moved out the next day. While packing, she found something wedged behind the oven. Nathan's burned phone battery, completely intact, written on it in tiny, melted scratches. "Don't pick up if it rings after midnight." Epilogue. The Loop researchers from the Paracryptic Phenomena Society reviewed the case. Their theory? The crash site sits on a temporal fracture, a rare geological anomaly where time loops back on itself, especially during death trauma. In such fractures, the final thoughts of the dying can echo forward, like a spiritual voicemail to the living. But sometimes, those trapped inside the loop try to reach out. Nathan wasn't calling for help. He was warning US.to this day. Local dispatchers say they occasionally receive calls at 2:26 a.m. from untraceable numbers, each with the same whisper, "Don't die here." September 2nd, 2022, Appalachia, West Virginia. At 7:14 p.m., a 911 call came into the Lewisburg Emergency Center. The voice was distorted, muffled, shaking with terror. The caller identified herself as Sarah Gentry, a 41-year-old woman who had gone missing 3 days prior after a hiking trip along Cold Hollow Ridge Trail. But the GPS on the call said something strange. It pinged from inside Woodpine Cemetery, from underneath the earth, from plot number 49. A grave. The call dispatcher. 911. What's your emergency? Caller. Panicked. I'm not dead. Oh God. I'm in the dark. I can't move. They buried me. Alive. Please help me. Dispatcher. Ma'am, can you tell me your name and location? Caller. Sarah. Sarah Gentry. It's dirt above me. I don't know how deep. There's no air. Please. I hear something walking up there. Frantic banging sounds. Muffled. Hollow. Dispatcher. We're sending someone right now. Stay calm. Caller. No, don't send them here. It's standing on my grave. It knows I'm calling. Oh my God. It's tapping on the coffin. Unintelligible screaming. Loud static. Then silence. The investigation rescue teams were dispatched within 5 minutes. They arrived at Woodpine Cemetery by 7:24 p.m. Plot number 49 had been recently filled. Fresh soil. Still moist. According to records, the plot was already occupied. Buried 15 hours earlier, Sarah Gentry. Her body had been found off the Ridge Trail, partially decomposed. Cause of death: exposure. She had been pronounced dead at Lewisburg Medical Center. Fingerprinted. Identified. Buried. Yet her voice had just made a 911 call. From inside that grave, they exhumed the coffin, and what they found should never have existed. Inside the coffin there were scratch marks on the lid. Deep. Frantic. The inner lining was torn to shreds. Her fingernails were cracked and bloody, and the body, it was twisted in a new position. Arms stretched upward, mouth open wide, jaw broken from what looked like screaming. But the most chilling detail, clutched in Sarah's hand, was a burned SIM card. The coroner had removed her phone before burial. Yet, somehow, she had made a call that no one could trace through any network. The autopsy confession: the original coroner, Dr. Alan Kirsch, was suspended pending investigation. When questioned about how Sarah was declared dead, he claimed her vitals had flatlined and rigor mortis had already begun. But a later review of the hospital's footage showed something disturbing at 3:13 a.m. The night before her burial, Sarah's body twitched. Then her mouth opened, and she mouthed something. Lip readers confirmed what she said. "Let me out." Hospital staff dismissed it as post-mortem spasm, but someone on the graveyard shift remembered something else. A nurse. She said she had passed by the morgue and heard a phone ringing from inside the freezer. When she opened it, silenced, Sarah's body was still. Her eyes were now open. The second call 3 nights after the funeral, a second 911 call came in at 2:03 a.m. The same voice. Sarah's. But this time, she wasn't screaming. She was whispering. "You shouldn't have dug me up. I see things now. The roots grow through my veins. He's still down here, watching. There's more of us. We all called. Nobody believed us. You hear us in the static. Every midnight call you ignore. That's a scream buried too deep. Then, it's your turn to lie still." And the line went dead. The technician who vanished, Kyle Mercer, a signal technician working the night shift, reviewed the call's metadata. IT wasn't routed through any tower. IT was transmitted directly through the emergency system's fiber line, as if it had emerged from within the wires themselves. The waveform pattern matched a cardiac monitor, one that was active for 16 seconds before cutting to zero. At that same night, Kyle vanished from his office. Surveillance footage showed him sitting still for over 12 minutes, not blinking. Then, slowly, he leaned forward and whispered something into the headset. Audio cleanup revealed one line: "The roots grow up." The hidden file: the FBI's Special Digital Unit launched an internal investigation. They discovered something buried in the 9/11 Systems Archive. A file folder marked Echo Dead, Protocol 19. Inside were 27 recordings, all from deceased individuals, some from war zones, some from natural disasters, all made after official times of death. Many begged for help. Some issued warnings, but one, labeled Gentry_49_Rec2, was encrypted with a rotating cipher. When decrypted, it played a short clip, sound of soil shifting, wind groaning through trees. Then, a woman's voice, clear, powerful, speaking as if right Beside the listener, you hear us. That's enough. Now you belong to the ground too. Current status Woodpine Cemetery is now off limits. Dozens of graves have been sealed with concrete. Rumors swirl of nightly knocking sounds beneath the earth. Local police refused to patrol the grounds after dark. One officer, who briefly entered the cemetery alone, reported this before resigning. My radio started whispering in my own voice. It said I'd already been buried, that my call for help had been logged 20 years ago. Final note: the Lewisburg Dispatch Center receives one anonymous call every night at 2:03 a.m., always the same. A single word, cold. And the chilling part, it's not Sarah's voice anymore, it's someone new, and they just keep calling. November 17th, 2013, Rockwell County, Nebraska, 3:09 a.m. It was a quiet, freezing Sunday. A frost advisory blanketed most of the state. Inside the Rockwell County Emergency Dispatch Center, only 2 operators were on duty. One of them was Abby Monroe, 28, a veteran dispatcher known for being calm, sharp, and unshakable, until she received a call from her own name. The call: 911. What's your emergency? There's been an accident. Okay, where are you located? County Line Bridge. I'm bleeding. I can't move my legs. Can you tell me your name? Abby Monroe. Excuse me. I hit black ice. My car's in the creek. The water's freezing. Please help me. I think my ribs are broken. Crackling static. I know you can hear me. I need you to answer. You're the only one who ever does. Click. The breakdown: at first, Abby believed it was a cruel joke. Another dispatcher messing around. But something about the voice stopped her cold. It wasn't just familiar that it was her. The cadence. The panic. The tiny stutter she tried so hard to hide. She even heard the background sound of her own keychain. 3 small metal rings she wore on her car's rearview mirror, clinking together in rhythm. She checked the call log. The number was blank. No source. No tower ping. Just one note in the digital logbook. Call originated. Unknown time. She pulled up her shift records. County Line Bridge wasn't even on her route. She had no plans to be there, but she couldn't shake it. Something felt wrong, like she'd just listened to a message from a future version of herself, one who was dying alone. The dreadful day. 9 days later, November 26th, Abby's shift ended early due to snow warnings. She offered to give a fellow dispatcher a ride, but changed her mind last second. Something didn't feel right. She said that on her way home, she took a back road, a shortcut. That road ran parallel to County Line Bridge. The next morning, at 6:11 a.m., a hiker found a red Toyota Corolla submerged in the frozen creek. Abby Monroe was inside, still buckled in, dead from hypothermia. The car had hit black ice. The time of death: between 3 o'clock and 3:12 a.m. The exact window of her original call. The recording that shouldn't exist. Her coworker, Jason Caldwell, reviewed the call logs later that week, half out of grief, half curiosity. But the file? Gone. No audio, no number, no data trail, except for one corrupted file titled simply, Answer. When decrypted, it played one phrase on a loop. You always answer. That's why I called you. Jason freaked out. He tried deleting the file. It returned each time he restarted his computer. Eventually, he took it to an IT specialist who pulled the audio apart frame by frame. There, buried beneath the waveform, spelled in compressed binary, was an image. A grainy photo of Abby Monroe, taken inside the car. From outside the passenger side window, the angle showed her struggling to scream. There was no one else around. Yet something, took that photo before she died. The other dispatchers. A month later, another operator, Jenna Lyles, received a call at 3:08 a.m. Same voice. Please, tell Abby I'm sorry. We weren't supposed to hear ourselves die. Jenna asked who was speaking. The line replied, the next voice you hear will be your own. Then, it played back her 911 greeting from 11 minutes earlier, word for word, tone for tone. Perfectly mimicked. She quit that night. The pattern over the next 6 months, a string of similar calls were reported across the country. Each call occurred between 3 o'clock and 3:15 a.m., originated from nowhere, matched the dispatcher's voice, described a death that hadn't happened yet, but within 2 weeks, it always did. Car crashes, fires, suicides, disappearances, They called it the echo dead line. Some believed it was a psychic loop, a feedback of trauma in the system. Others believed the emergency lines were acting like antennas for conscious regret, moments where the soul tried to call itself. But a darker theory emerged, that someone was answering the calls and making sure they came true, the final message one. Year to the day after Abby Monroe's death, the Rockwell dispatch system received an automated email, .no address, no IP. The subject line read, "1 year isn't long to wait." Attached was a .wav file. It was Abby's voice again. "I called myself because no one else would listen. I needed me to care. No one else did. It's your turn now. Let's see if you answer." The email deleted itself 20 seconds after being opened. Current status: the Rockwell County Dispatch now has an internal rule. Do not log or respond to untraceable calls between 3 o'clock and 3:15 a.m. They call it the Silent 15. New trainees are told never to answer a voice that knows your name before you give it. Still, calls come in. And sometimes, late at night, you can hear a dispatcher's voice, whispering back to itself, over and over and over, until it finally goes quiet. Some 911 calls save lives. Others are made to drag you into the dark with them. So the next time your phone rings at 3:13 a.m., don't answer, because it just might be you on the other end.